Hey guys, welcome back to the AWS Cloud Demos. So in today's demo, we will look into how we export the DynamoDB table data into a S3 bucket as in a JSON format. Okay. So what we will be doing today is we will create a S3 bucket. We will create DynamoDB table, a dummy table with a dummy data, and then we will transfer the data from DynamoDB table into a S3 bucket. Okay, so for this we will create a Lambda function. We will write some logic. We will use a Node.js, and we will use the AWS SDK to convert the data and store it in the S3 bucket. Okay, so for this we also create a IAM role so that we can give permission to our Lambda function to convert the data. Okay, and store the data in the S3 bucket. Okay, so if you guys have not seen my videos previously, so please go ahead and watch in my channel. So you'll find a bunch of demos for the AWS. If you're preparing for solution architect, if you're preparing for developer associate, if you're preparing for AWS DevOps, this is the right place. You have come into a right place, and please subscribe if you have not subscribed yet. And I think yeah, let's head to the demo, and we will begin with creating a S3 bucket. Okay, so if you guys have not logged in to your AWS account yet, please go ahead and log into your account, and from your dashboard, right, you should be able to go to S3 bucket and type S3 in the search bar and click on S3 bucket like so. Okay, so once you are in the buckets page, go ahead and click on create bucket like so, and then create a bucket name, which is my maybe Dynamo DB JSON backup. I'm going to choose AWS region as US East 1. In my case, you can go ahead and choose whatever, whichever you feel like it's your, and then click on ACLs enabled, and also give the object writer object ownership. Okay, so it's basically the object owner itself, and then I'm not going to give any public access for now, and then go ahead and click on create bucket. So once you have created your bucket, right, so you can see the bucket here, which is DynamoDB JSON backup. Go to the DynamoDB table. So this is where we are going to create a dummy table, and we will insert some dummy student data. Okay, and then we will convert the student data into a JSON format after some time. Okay, so now on this DynamoDB page, right, so go ahead and click on create table like so. And on this page, you can create a DynamoDB table. In my case, I'm going to give a DynamoDB. I'm going to name this my DynamoDB table. I hope this is visible. I'm going to zoom in a bit. I hope this is visible. And then partition key, I'm going to use a partition key as ID, and then I'm going to give it as a string. And I don't think you need a sort key at the moment. Zoom out a bit and go ahead and click on create table. So we have now created a dummy JSON dummy DynamoDB table, right? So I think it takes a couple of minutes to create this table. So once the table is created, we will insert some dummy data, and then we will also create a IAM role after that. Okay, so now that our DynamoDB table is ready, so what I'm going to do, just click on DynamoDB table, and now click on the explore table items, and then if you scroll down, you should be able to create item, and click on create item. I'm going to just put an ID of 1. Okay, and then we will insert a field called name, I think Murli in this case, and then I'm gonna add another attribute, which is string. I'm gonna use course this time. So assume that this is a course of AWS solution architect associate. Okay, I don't know if you guys are preparing for solution architect. You can go ahead with these demos, which will give you a lot of knowledge on and hands-on demos on the AWS console. Okay, and then once you enter this data, and then go ahead and click on create item like so. So once you create the item, go ahead and repeat and create a couple of other items. I'm gonna put 2, and I'm gonna add this name, which is Prashant in my case, and then I'm gonna add another value, which is course, and this is DevOps this time so Prashant is taking a course of AWS DevOps and create item, and I'm going to create another item, which is item 3, and I'm going to add name, which is something like Bobby, and then create another one which is course, and I am going to enter a course which is AWS sysops admin. Okay, you can just create any course that you want. So we have now created three records in our DynamoDB table, right? So I think this is good enough data that we can go ahead and test it, and we can export this data into the S3 bucket as a JSON file. Okay, so once you have created the DynamoDB table, what you're going to do is go back to the DynamoDB S3 table, or maybe you can open up a new window, which I'm going to duplicate the tab like so, and then I'm going to open up Lambda function. So I've added shortcut here. You can see you can also add these shortcuts, which is pretty useful from time to time. Just go ahead onto the Lambda page, okay, and click on create function. So we're gonna create a function called something like backup my DynamoDB table. Okay, so this is what my function name is, and I'm going to choose something like node 12, or you can choose anything. You can choose node 18, but I'm going to stick with node 12 at the for this demo. I think you can use node 18 as well, and then go ahead and click on to change the default execution role, and you need to assign the permission for your Lambda function to go ahead and grab the data from the DynamoDB table and store it in the S3 bucket. So for this, you can create and use existing role, or maybe you can create a role. So in this case, what I'm going to do, you can see this console, right? So if you had to create a custom role, you go ahead and click on this IAM console. So once you click on this, it will take you to a new window, and then you should be able to create a new role for yourself. Okay. So it looks like this is a old screen. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to go ahead and open that in a search bar, click on and then you should be able to see something like this, which is pretty nice. And then you can see all the list of roles that you have, and go ahead and click on create role. Okay, so I'm going to choose Lambda from here. Okay, so make sure it is AWS service that you have selected, and then also select the Lambda function like so, and then click on next. Okay, so basically what we are going to assign the permission is we're gonna give permissions to our DynamoDB and S3 bucket to our Lambda function, like I said. So now go ahead and click on create policy on the right side. So once you're on the create policy, right, so I always use a JSON field instead of the visual editor, because if you want to assign a bunch of permissions right from the visual editor, it's going to take a bunch of time. But for JSON, right, it is pretty simple. So that is the reason why I like using JSON a lot of this. So let's go ahead and copy paste the JSON that we have for this demo. So once we have the JSON ready, the policy, okay, so just remove this and paste it here. Okay, so basically I'm going to explain what I'm doing here. Is basically we are going to give access to the DynamoDB table, to the S3 bucket. Okay, first we are giving the permissions to my S3 bucket, to my Lambda function, to access the S3 bucket, which is list access, get access, create bucket, delete bucket. So we are giving a bunch of permissions to my Lambda function to do these actions on my S3 bucket, which is this. All right, so just make sure that your S3 bucket is the same thing that you have here. Okay, so in my case, I have DynamoDB JSON backup is my S3 bucket name. Okay, so I'm gonna go and click on IAM role wherever we left. So just paste this, because we need to make sure that we give the permissions to the right bucket to our Lambda function. Okay, and then also replace this to our S3 bucket. So this is my S3 bucket, and now that you're good, that you have given access to your S3 buckets and some of the list operations and get operations that you can perform from your Lambda function. Okay, and now on this resource. So I hope this policy is clear, and if I go all the way to the bottom right, I should be able to scroll to the bottom, and then we can see I've also assigned the DynamoDB permissions to my Lambda function because I want to get the table and also scan the table, right? So that I can scan the data from my DynamoDB table and get the items and then put it inside my S3 bucket as a JSON file. Okay, I hope this makes sense, and also make sure that you are in the correct region, which is US East 1 in my case when I created the bucket. Okay, and also here I have created a US East 1, and then go ahead, once you're happy with this, go ahead and click on next. Tags, I don't think you need any tags. Click on next, and then give a name, which is DynamoDB S3 backup policy. You can name anything, you can add some description if you would like, and then go ahead and click on create policy like so. All right, as soon as you create a policy and go back to the previous window where you were creating a role and just click on refresh here, you should be able to see your policy right here, which is my DynamoDB table policy, and make sure that is the same name that we have created. I hope so I had another one policy, just want to make sure that I assign the correct policy and make sure that you give the right one as well. Okay, so I hope this is the correct one, which is DynamoDB S3 backup policy. Go back and select the DynamoDB S3 backup policy and go ahead and click on next like so, and give a role name that you would like. In my case it is something like DynamoDB, or maybe my backup DynamoDB table role. Okay, just copy this name. I just want to make sure that I assign the correct one to my Lambda function, and go ahead, once you're happy with this, go ahead and click on create role. Once you have created a role, and now you can close these windows because you're done with creating the roles, and now you go back to the Lambda window wherever you were previously, and now make sure you select the order from scratch and select the and choose the name that you would like, and choose the runtime environment, and then also choose the existing role, because we just have created a role which is my backup DynamoDB table role. Okay, so go ahead and choose it and click on create function like so. So once you have created your function, right, now your function has access to the S3 bucket and has access to your DynamoDB table. Okay, so once you have created a function, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to copy paste a function that I've created, which is which will basically so let me copy paste first. So let me copy paste this, just remove this function, default function, and paste it. Okay, so as you can see here, right, this is my Node.js code. Okay, so I'm using AWS SDK, and also I'm using I'm in the region US East 1, and I'm just creating a AWS S3 object right here, and then I'm going to use my table, which is my S3 bucket, which is DynamoDB JSON backup, and you can simply choose the DynamoDB JSON backup, and also the file path. You can choose something like backup DynamoDB table JSON.json. Okay, so I'm going to take a backup of DynamoDB table into this file into my S3 bucket. Okay, so once you're done with this, go ahead to the make sure you give the correct table name. So if I go back to my table name, so my table name is my DynamoDB table. Copy that and put it here. Okay, so now that make sure your table name is correct, and then as you can see, we are using a client which is a DynamoDB table client. So we got a reference of DynamoDB table, and then we are going to scan our table and get the data. That means our items. Okay, and then we will iterate through the items that we've got, and then we will use the student ID, we will use the name, and we will use the course like so. We will use the course, we will use the student ID, and we will use the name. Okay, and then go ahead and just update the student ID correctly. I think we have given it as ID, just ID, I believe. So it's not student ID. I think it's just ID. Make sure you have the correct Lambda function. Okay, I'm gonna give a reference to this Lambda function in my GitHub. I think you can go ahead and click on the icard above and just copy the code from there, the Lambda function, so that you should be able to create your own Lambda function. Okay, so once you have created a S3, the DynamoDB client and S3 client, you have access to your table. You have created a file path, and you have given a correct reference of your table, and then we will scan the table and get the items from our DynamoDB table, and then we will create a temporary JSON structure for our DynamoDB table, and then we will put the object into S3 like so. So this is the function where you create a S3 object, and then we will give a bucket name, key, and the data that you want to store in your S3 bucket. Okay, so once you're happy with this, just go ahead and click on deploy. You should be able to deploy your code. And once you deploy your code, right, so click on the arrow below, and from the test, go ahead and configure the test event, and test backup DynamoDB table. Okay, maybe just put test backup DynamoDB like so, and then click on save. Okay, so once you're done with this, because you have already assigned a role to your Lambda function, you just go ahead and click on test over here. Okay, let's see what it is going to give. Let's wait for the result. Looks like there is some error. So let's go ahead and resolve the error. And unexpected token. Okay, invalid or unexpected token. So there must be something wrong with the way we have given the token. All right. Okay, I think there is something wrong with the codes here. I think let's go ahead and replace that with the correct codes, and I hope they should be fine. And go ahead and click on deploy again. Deploy your changes. As soon as you make your changes, just make sure you deploy your changes again. And we have already configured a test event, so you do not need to do anything else there. So go ahead and click on test. Okay, so there is one more error, which is the same error. I think there must be something wrong with the way we are doing it here. Maybe this one. Just use this. And we will look into I think something wrong with this double quotes. Okay, guys, I think basically the error was with these codes. Okay, so make sure you give the correct codes. I'm gonna copy paste this code into my GitHub account, and you can simply copy paste the account, so you don't have to worry about these errors that we just got. So I've just corrected, so I think it should be fine for you as well. So once you are happy with the changes, and once you understand the whole code, right, once you know how to get the DynamoDB table data and convert it to a JSON. So once you're happy with this code, just go ahead and click on test. So you should be able to see all the data that we have inserted into our DynamoDB table data. Okay, so if I scroll to the bottom right, so you get all the data that you expected, but there is some error with the when saving the data into the S3 bucket. Okay, so let's go ahead and make sure that what is the error, and we will fix this error, and then we will go ahead and test this event again. Okay, so go back to the S3 bucket, go back to the IAM role. Just go ahead and click on IAM here. I have a shortcut here. Just go ahead and right click and open in a new tab. So once you open that in a new tab, go to the role, or maybe the policy that you have created, which is S3 backup policy. And let's see what's wrong. And we just want to make sure that it has a correct policy or not. Basically, this is just an error with the policy. So go ahead and click on edit policy, and in your JSON editor, right, so you can see, as you can see, that we have list permissions, we have get permissions, but we did not give a put permission to our S3 bucket. So that's why the put operation has failed. So let's go ahead and give a put permission to our Lambda function like so. Go ahead and edit your policy, and then click on review policy and save the changes. Okay, so now as soon as you save the changes, so go back to the uh, Lambda function, and then go ahead and click on test again, and let's see if this operation is successful, and scroll to the bottom. I think this has now created a file called backup dynamodb table.json in our S3 bucket. So I think this Lambda function has executed successfully, and now what I'm going to do is go back to the S3 bucket wherever we have created previously, right? So go ahead and click on refresh. If you're not in this page, just go to the buckets, S3 buckets, and then go to your bucket that you have created. Okay, and now once you have created, and then go ahead and click on refresh, and there you go. You can now see the data, the backup DynamoDB table data. You can see the JSON which is created from a Lambda function. We have successfully taken a backup. So let's go ahead and check whether you get the correct data backup or not. So open up the backup DynamoDB table JSON and click on open in a new window. So it has downloaded the file and opened the file. So that opened up in a new window for me, and open up and click on raw data. So you can now see the data. Okay, this is all the data that I've got, that it is stored in my DynamoDB table. Okay, and this is how you're going to get your data back into S3 bucket from your DynamoDB table. Okay, so I hope this video makes some sense, guys, and if you guys really like this video, please like it, share it, and subscribe it if you haven't yet subscribed yet, and watch out for the channel updates, and I will be posting up new videos coming soon. I will be posting really interesting videos going forward, and I hope you're enjoying this cloud demos. So just give it a like, and please subscribe to my channel if you haven't yet, and I will see you guys in the next video. Thank you.